This is ACOFAE. Laura Marie and Jessica Marie proudly present A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, a podcast. Fair warning, everything the hosts say is explicit, full of spoilers and adult content and shall not be used against them. They have opinions. Let's try not to drag anyone for expressing themselves and just have fun for an hour. We all deserve it.
This episode contains mentions of Doctor Who and the Assassin's Blade, along with conversations surrounding sexual assault, sex trafficking, and sex work.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, your weekly deep dive into the YA literature and fandoms that we love. I'm Laura Marie.
And I'm Jessica Marie.
And today we are discussing a movie that has shaped me, changed me, and made me into the person I am today. And it is Moulin Rouge.
This is easily one of my top 5 favorite movies. Rewatching this, I didn't realize how much of my real life reactions I pull from this movie. I mean, from everything. Just with Sidler, like, everything's going so well. How animated he is. Just, you're the only person who sometimes I think would get my reactions in life, because I'll just go, the Maharaja, the hand motion and all, and nobody gets it. You're the only person who gets it.
This movie is absolutely wonderful. It's fantastic. Obviously, we love it. We're discussing it. People really don't like it. And one of the first experiences
Do we want to preface what the movie is about?
No, I don't even want to talk about what the movie is about just yet. I just want to talk about my first exposure to this movie. Okay. And then we can go from there and talk about the plot. My first exposure to this movie, I saw this movie on a Sunday, and I saw it with my friend Anne-Marie. It was a 10 a.m. matinee. And the Saturday, the day before, we had seen Pearl Harbor with Ben Affleck and Josh Hartnett. And that was her choice.
So hot then.
I know, it was so hot then. That was Anne-Marie's choice, Pearl Harbor. And my choice was Moulin Rouge. She hated that movie. And it was so devastating. So Moulin Rouge was the first movie where I knew that I was watching something special. I was in the theater and the narcoleptic Argentinian falls through the roof, and I looked over at her, and in my head I was like, this is different. I didn't know like movies could be like this. And her face was just like confusion and just not into it at all. And then by the time we get to Kylie Minogue as the Green Fairy, like, I'm sold. I'm in. Like, I knew that this would change my life, and she was done. And we walk out of there, and I'm going on and on and on about, like, the shots and the angles and the lighting and how the windmill, goes. You can hear the creaking of the windmill and how the camera goes over. And she looks at me and goes, well, her lipstick was perfect the whole time. Just like, totally. That was her only takeaway. That was it. And I remember being devastated because I love something that she didn't love. And like, obviously we did not remain friends. And
that was it. We were like, we're no longer friends.
That was it. But again, this is also the first time that I became aware of movie reviews. Up until this point, like, movie reviews were not a thing. Like, we were young, whatever. But I went home and I talked to my mom. And I said, Mom, this is amazing. And I tell her all the same stuff I told Anne-Marie. And she was just like, well, I read some reviews that said it was really bad. It's like, but it's not. It's not bad. It is going to, and now has, changed my life. And to this day, she has not seen it because the reviews stick in her head. And one of the reviews, and I tried really hard to find the article that it came from, and I couldn't find it. But one of the reviews was that it was like watching a ferret on acid. Like, that's what this movie was. And I was just like, well, yeah, and that's the point. Like, that's what we wanted. And so very formative, just, ooh.
I feel like people didn't, and still don't, in a way, appreciate the art. And that's what it is. That this movie is living, moving art. And I know that sounds like this pretentious cinephile, but it is beautiful in every aspect. And I think it was up for 9 Oscar noms. And when this movie came out, I was probably not allowed to watch it because I never watched it. I remember the music video existing for Lady Marmalade, and that alone changed me. You had, Maya, Pink, Lil' Kim, and Christina Aguilera, and they were on MTV, on TRL all the time. That was a top, and all I could think of was, I want to be them. I want to be confident and sexy and empowered, and I still want to feel that way. And that music video changed me. And then I think that music video is why they even, I was not allowed to watch it for so long. Let's not forget, I was in a very much of a sheltered bubble. But then I had a friend, shout out to Nikki Wayan. She doesn't listen to this, but she will forever be in my heart. She goes, "You haven't watched this?" I go, "No." So we did a girls' sleepover. We watched it. Done. I was changed. It was amazing. And rewatching it this time, there's obviously we briefly talked about it last night about lived experiences change how we consume media. But it was just beautiful and wow. And I remember back when people would ask those thought-provoking questions. What are the 3 albums or 3 CDs that you would bring with you on a stranded island? And that's dating ourselves because nobody really listens to CDs anymore. It's more about collecting them. This was always one of the 3 every time. And still to this day would be one of the soundtracks that I would take with me on a deserted island.
Absolutely. Well, you have excellent taste. We all know this. We all know this.
It's like you were saying, the Green Fairy, I didn't realize how much there are certain things that have shaped me. Dancing on bars, completely influenced by Coyote Ugly. Going to town with Absinthe. This movie was like, this movie was like, oh, maybe this is where part of my extrovertedness comes from. Because I wanted to be who doesn't want to be Kylie Minogue in these moments and have the fun and have the freedom. I mean, everything about the children of the revolution, of the Bohemian Revolution, truth, beauty, freedom, and love. Seems pretty formulaic to me. Why wouldn't you want to have a life of happiness like that?
Oh, gosh. Interesting. We're talking about the Green Fairy. Did you know that when Kylie Minogue's eyes go red, that's actually Ozzy Osbourne?
Only when we were doing research for this.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea otherwise. And that's his voice.
Yeah, that's his scream. Really fantastic. We have an article that has facts that you didn't know about the movie that we will probably link in show notes. It's really good. It has all of the major ones that we know. And okay, so this movie, Moulin Rouge, is the 3rd movie in the Red Curtain trilogy from Baz Luhrmann, the other 2 being Strictly Ballroom and Romeo and Juliet, which is the t-shirt that I'm wearing right now, Romeo and Juliet. And the box set came out in 2002. And in the box set included a whole extra CD of all of the, DVD of all of the extras from Moulin Rouge. And in that DVD contained the extended Roxanne version. Jess, I shared the YouTube with you.
We should add that in the show notes, too.
It is my favorite. I mean, the whole movie is my favorite, but Roxanne is just the epitome for me. It doesn't get any better than that. And it's wonderful and magical. And I know the dance. I can't dance, but in my head, I know the dance. I know the steps. I know the music. I know everything. So Baz Luhrmann just shaped my whole life. And he doesn't know it, obviously, but I feel like for a certain subset of the population that's probably true. Don't you think so?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm thinking of, you've seen Strictly Ballroom. I still have not. And I know you still, every time we talk about Moulin Rouge or Romeo and Juliet, because again, it's Romeo and Juliet was the VHS that I had on repeat, along with the first tape of Titanic and Spice World. Like, those were...
We don't watch the second tape of Titanic.
We don't watch the second tape. But, I mean, just Romeo and Juliet alone, constantly on repeat at my father's house when I was over there every other weekend. And he really did shape the appreciation that we have. And he has such a specific style and cinematography that if you went into a movie not knowing who the filmmaker was, I feel like all you need to do is sit down for 5 minutes and you know exactly that it's a Baz Luhrmann film.
Absolutely, no question. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Moulin Rouge, what it is, the things that we love, and we have some reviews. Like, I put reviews in our discussion notes from people, and it's just like so incredibly frustrating, some of these reviews. But people did not like this movie. They didn't. They thought it was like too busy. It was too much. It was like too sensual.
But that's what it's supposed to be.
Exactly. Our editor, Sam, said, all these crusty white people can't appreciate art. And I was just like...
For those who have the money and like to spend it, at least know how to appreciate it. There's a difference.
For real. So Moulin Rouge is a retelling of Orpheus and Eurydice. And we love this because, and I have it right here. Orpheus was a musician, poet, and prophet in Greek mythology. He was considered the best musician and poet of all time, and he perfected the lyre. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yep. And he was taught to play that as a child, which is interesting because he is the sitar player later on. So it all just kind of, goes together. So we love that. Orpheus loses Eurydice. She dies, and he goes to the underworld, and she is trapped there, and he makes a bargain and wants to pull her out and save her, but he fucks it up, and she ends up back in the underworld, and that is exactly what this is.
Exactly what happens.
That's exactly what happens here. She's already trapped, right? Satine, Nicole Kidman, nominated for an Oscar, didn't win, should have. She is trapped in the underworld, creatures of the underworld we don't get to love. And Christian wants to run away with her. He wants to pull her out. And it's beautiful.
And he fucks it up for everybody when he's like, she doesn't love you. Him. She doesn't love him. I have so many responses when I'm like, him, like, no, you're literally the only person who understands when I insert this dialogue into my life.
So everybody sang on set. Everybody sang. It was their own voices. Oh my God. No, there were accidents on set. There were long-lasting repercussions for the actors that happened on set. Nicole Kidman broke her rib.
Twice.
Yes. And it cost her the lead in Panic Room. And
shout out Jodie Foster.
Shout out Jodie Foster. She did her own her entry as Satine on the trapeze. That was her. She trained for weeks to be able to pull that off. And she sang live. Ewan McGregor. This is how he will forever be for me.
Yeah, it's when they announced the Obi-Wan series, and I go, oh my gosh, so excited. And then they showed his recent headshot. It threw me, not that he doesn't look bad, but I go, oh, he aged. I had no idea. Oh, I had no idea. Because he's immortalized as Christian in my head.
And one of the things that I really love about his performance, besides the fact that he can sing, oh my gosh, I didn't know that he could sing, but God, can he sing, is he's having so much fun. His joy, when he's happy, his joy is just so clear and it shines through, and it's just so beautiful to watch. And he's just fantastic. Another I guess accident, it's not really an accident, but John Leguizamo
is the PT.
Well, yeah, because he's on his knees the whole time, and they CGI shoes, and he had chronic back problems because of this.
Yeah, there was a comment that I was looking at in an interview where he was saying that him and Nicole Kidman were fighting over who would get to the PT first after their roles, like after they taped for the day. He's so good in this movie. I mean, I feel like he's great in any role that he takes. I love him.
John Leguizamo, I think, is an underappreciated actor. I feel like people don't use him to his like full capacity as an actor, but in this role, he shines.
He did a one-man, one-show kind of thing on Broadway within the last few years before, pandemic hit. Like,
I believe it.
How cool is that? I don't know. He seems something. He's just that multi-talented man. Whatever you throw at him, he does it with such finesse.
He's just so wonderful. And then Ziedler, obviously, all of the dancers. The dancers are kind of unnamed. There's Nini. She's named, and like Baby Doll. There's a few of them that are like actually named, but they're all just so fantastic and so stunning. And the Duke, obviously, what a pig.
You saw my reaction video to his small dick energy, and even when he was like first meets Satine formally in The Elephant, he's like, the pleasure. Oh, she's like, oh, it's a pleasure to meet you. She's just being customer service friendly, like a polite woman. And he goes, the pleasure I fear will be entirely mine. Fuck off. Like, I already hate you. We hated you before. We hate you more now with your SDE. And it's complete foreshadowing to him about to sexually assault her.
You say foreshadowing. There are 4 instances of foreshadowing of Satine's death in this movie. And the first one is when it's very on the nose. Nicole Kidman as Satine descending from the trapeze for Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend with the blue light. They use blue light so that because her skin was so pale, it looked like it would glow. And she looks amazing. And Nicole says, the French
are glad to die for love.
And on Die, it shows like her face in her Hindi courtesan costume falling back.
Oh.
And that is the first foreshadowing instance. They do it 2 more times like that, using that same frame. And then it happens, and that's the 4th and final at the very end.
That's like that gasp that she takes in the courtesan. Oh, I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah. So, yeah, foreshadowing. Very big. It's just so fantastic. Sam wants me to mention that it is part of the Red Curtain trilogy. So when the opening is the orchestra and there's the conductor up there and he's having so much fun, Sam loves conducting. So he was like, that guy is having the time of his life.
I love the opening, and it ends the same way.
Mm-hmm. It ends
the closure of the trilogy.
It's a beautiful like framework story. So, oh my gosh. There's so much that we can say about this, so we'll try to keep it on. The music is such a big part of this, and I know it took 2 years for them to get like the rights to the music, and they had to pay a lot of money for it. But the Sound of Music in the beginning is just so fantastic, especially like now, like where I am, and like I'm not in Switzerland, but the setting is kind of the same with the hill, and all of that. But he's in his little outfit, and it's just so magical. And
he has such a way to bring modernism into older stories. I mean, this movie right off the bat says it takes place in 1899. We also know his previous work with Romeo and Juliet, and that took place a long time ago also. I can't think of the century right off the top. Probably like the 16th century, 17th century. I don't know. But he has a way to bring it to the now, which is what he does with the music so wonderfully, between The Sound of Music with Nirvana's Smell Like Teen Spirit, Your Song bringing Elton John, I Will Always Love You, originally by Dolly Parton, and then obviously Whitney. it's so incredible, and it's so seamless how he integrates it into the film and the medleys. And I remember when you were prepping for your wedding, you were contemplating, you're like, we might do the elephant medley as our vows.
Because editor Sam and I love to sing like show tunes and stuff when we're in the car, and it's very special. He called me in here the other day. He was like, "What are you doing? Do you want to sing Les Mis?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." So I came in here when he was working. It's just really fantastic. And this movie got compared a lot to The Knight's Tale, because The Knight's Tale is also a movie that pulls in modern music, but in that instance, it's a little jarring, and people were like about it.
Didn't.
But in this, Heath Ledger, but Shannon Sossamon, oh my God, Alan Tudyk, so good. But that movie is a little bit jarring with the modern music, and this one, as you said, fits kind of seamlessly, and also I think in kind of a stage spectacular setting, the music is reworked a bit. And it flows, and it doesn't seem as jarring, and it fits everything really well, and it moves the story along, which is really lovely. And then, of course, at the end, when Satine is singing the Diamond song again, it's totally reworked to kind of fit that situation, and it's just absolutely fantastic. I just cannot say enough about it.
I love with your song, and they're in the elephant, all the euphemisms that come with it because of the miscommunication, like we know. But it just makes me giggle because he has this one thing going on in his head. She has another. He's singing your song. And I remember, when this movie came out, it was still in my bubblegum pop music listening. So when I eventually watched it with my stepmom, when I was allowed to start watching it, she goes, "Oh, your song is in here." And I go, "This isn't my song." She goes, "No, your song." I go, I know what you're saying. This isn't my song. I had no exposure to Elton John except Can You Feel the Love Tonight and Circle of Life up until that point in my life.
Well, that's okay. That's all fixed now. Now we love Elton, and we recognize we recognize his cultural impact and love his hits. So, Nicole Kidman is having a blast in this scene that you're describing. When she's like, "Oh, naughty words, yes, poetry," and she starts like faking orgasms and stuff, and he's looking at her like, "What are you doing?"
It reminded me of, did you ever watch The Sweetest Thing with Cameron Diaz?
I did.
Christina Applegate. You know the part where they're in the Chinese restaurant and they're like, "What have we taught you?" And then they go, "Oh my gosh, it's the biggest thing I've ever," like just the exaggeration of everything. That's what this movie, that scene reminds me of like stroking a man's ego, right? Leading up to everything.
It's fantastic.
The cast chemistry, and you were saying how much fun that she had and how much fun Ewan McGregor had. It reminded me, I was reading another article where they did an actors on actors with Variety, and they were saying just the chemistry amongst the cast. Everybody was always having fun. They were having parties all the time. And I guess at one point she goes, "Do you remember that one time?" He goes, "I don't remember any Friday or Saturday night. Like, I don't know what to tell you."
I believe
and they just felt like a cast that it was everybody. It was crew. It wasn't just the
MCs.
The talent. Yeah.
Yeah. It gives me very much Mamma Mia vibes, where like everybody's wasted on Uzo and Mamma Mia and just like having the best time at cast parties. Like I feel like this was like the like OG of that.
Yeah.
And it's just so fantastic. Spectacular, as long as we're talking about being in the elephant. That is one of those scenes where I can watch it, and I have watched it a million times, and if I focus on a single character and just watch them, I will see something completely new and different. One of the characters that I was watching when I was watching this is the bald white man that plays the piano.
The composer?
Yeah. And he has a scarf wrapped around him. That is a direct throwback to Doctor Who and one of the original doctors who wears the long scarf because they wanted to make him seem like more bohemian. And that is one of those things. So it's there. Like, you can read about it. That was a conscious choice by Boz's wife, the costume designer.
And that was when the original Doctor Who was out. This wasn't even when they did a resurgence of it. That's cool.
Right? It's just like one of those things. Like, if you watch this movie and you just say, like, okay, I'm only going to watch it for this character, and you only watch that character, you will find something that you have never seen before every single time. And that is the beauty of this. Also, the beauty of this is the completely manic performance of Spectacular. I love it so much. Obviously I know all the words and I know all the gestures and stuff, but I can't imagine rehearsing that. And then just like knowing that you know that this movie just kind of reinforces the fact that I can never and will never be an actor.
Yeah. I mean, we already know that I'm somebody who could just like giggle on sight. So there's certain things where, like you said, the chaos and how do you keep a straight face? And yes, that's my job. How I would lose it every time. Even if I knew everything, I would still not be able to get into the zone. I'd be just giggling the whole time. Like, I can't believe we're doing this. This is so fun.
One of the tropes that is recurring in this movie is, the bloody handkerchief trope. Satine is dying of consumption. It is made clear to us, the viewer, right at the beginning, right away. There is a framework to this story, and it starts off with Christian. It's a year later. He's depressed. He's in his hotel room, and he starts writing. And, he says right away, the woman I love is dead. And then it goes back in time, and we have the whole story of Moulin Rouge. And then it ends with him, depressed again, finishing the story in his hotel room and kind of like, coming out of it, right? But we, the viewer, know that she's dying. Christian, during, does not. And Satine does not.
She does not either. That was one of rewatching it. I was like, wait, does she know she's dying? She's not told that she's dying till the end. So she's living her life not knowing. Everybody around her knows, and nobody has told her yet.
Because the show must go on.
The show must go on.
And that is also like kind of a recurring thing. But the bloody handkerchief is one of those tropes that like it shows the viewer like sickness. And it's there, I think 3 times with the handkerchief maybe. And then she faints a couple of times. So it's very clear that when her emotions are high and, she has a lot going on, that is when her symptoms like kind of kick in. And it's just really tragic.
And I feel like the fainting didn't set off anybody either because she was wearing corsets. That's just part of the symptoms of wearing corsets. Because she even says, oh, these silly things, these costumes, she kind of just writes it off.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my gosh. And, I mean, I personally think that Nicole Kidman is absolutely beautiful. But she, in this role, really shines. Do you notice her coloring being completely similar to Ziedler?
In the fact that she's pale?
They both have red hair. They both have blue eyes. They're both very pale.
Wait, is that her dad?
It's not ever like explicitly said, but it's very like when they have scenes like next to each other, I mean, their eyes are the same color. Their hair is the same color. It even has the same kind of like orangey lightness around like the temples and stuff. So I always
think... Is this a fan theory?
I don't know. I've never like looked it up. It's just in my head, he has always been like her dad.
I think of him as a father figure, but I never thought of him as her actual father.
If you pull up pictures of like their characters like side by side, it is uncanny. And I feel like that was a conscious choice. Like they had to say, okay, you're both going to have the red hair. Yeah.
I didn't, because obviously we know that Sidler, I mean, they don't say it, but he's the pimp of Moulin Rouge. Like, that's what he is. And obviously she's the star of his show. And she was always like, oh, you're going to be a real actress. You're going to get out of here. One of the things that I found interesting, and maybe this could make sense now. So Sidler refers to Satine with a multitude of pet names. He's like, oh, my pigeon, my gosling, my duckling, my sparrow. And birds in general are a symbol of freedom. They have the ability to fly. And Satine is singing like, one day I'll fly away. It's very symbolic of her and her dreams. But the irony is that she can't follow those dreams. And then birds, and I looked this part up, when birds are seen in dreams, they are good omens of life, rebirth, intelligence, peace, hope, and love. So, but now I'm wondering about, we knew she was his favorite, but is it because she's his daughter?
And the only like physical birds that we see are the birds in Satine's dressing room, and those birds are in a cage.
In a cage.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I'm in shock right now because, and we were talking about the show must go on, and it aligns with Satine very much at the beginning of the movie, where Satine is always about the bigger picture. She understands the sacrifice. She understands what the job is to secure the Duke, to secure this, because it's not just for her livelihood. It's for everybody. And she understands that. And she's putting that ahead of her own. She's being very self-sacrificing with the choices that she has to make. And it aligns with Sidler's The Show Must Go On, and it correlates to Baz in this production, because one of the facts that we found out through this, leading up into this episode, was the first day of production is Baz Luhrmann's father passed away. And he was almost going to give up this whole thing. And he remembered that his dad basically said, no, you need to continue with this. You have this vision. You need to continue. This is something that you love. But it was the first time in Baz's life where he had never been this workaholic, because he didn't know how to continue. And I feel like between Satine being bigger picture and Sidler being The Show Must Go On, I think this is just we talk about how much this movie has shaped us, and I didn't realize it till this morning. It's another thing where this is a combination of both of us, really, because between those two, despite other shit going on, it's just so much deeper and reflective of how we live our lives.
And you say, Baz's dad said, keep going, keep doing this. And that is how this movie ends, with Satine dying, telling Christian he's got to go on, tell the story. So
tell our story.
Mm-hmm. So it's very, it's, open and shut kind of there. And then, of course, the credits roll and it says it's dedicated to his father, which is, just wonderful. We're talking about the Duke. We're talking about, the show must go on. The Duke is there to invest. And this is something that you learn in the cut scenes. But the reason that they need a Duke, or anybody really, to invest is because Ziedler is obsessed with electricity. And he is obsessed with making the Moulin Rouge all electric. That's what he wants. So
when he says it in some of the lyrics that he's saying, electrifying, captivating. Okay.
Yeah. And so specifically when he is up on the platform and he's, we have created the world's first all singing, all dancing, totally bohemian, electric, that. And then again, electricity, as you said, when he's singing, that subplot was cut out. And when you watch the extras, you can see where the cuts are. And specifically a moment that really bothers me in this movie is a bad cut. And it's when they're doing the can-can kind of in the beginning. And there's a part where Ziedler like does like a backflip or whatever. And he has his arms out and it says like can, kind of like, out. Mm-hmm. And it's meant to be kind of, it's meant to be there for stylistic reasons, but the reason it's there is because it's a cut scene where they're talking about electricity. So that is why they need someone to invest, because Ziedler has basically bankrupted the Moulin Rouge with his obsession about electricity. And that is not addressed at all. We just kind of assume that they need an investor for like reasons.
Other things. Yeah. I didn't know it was because he bankrupt. And again, like I don't have a DVD player anymore. Now I have the collector's edition just chilling on a shelf.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Cannot recommend the extra like bonus edition DVD to this enough. It is just so fantastic. You learn so much. One of the most awkward scenes to me is the Like a Virgin dance number scene. But one of the most interesting things that I learned is during that scene, they had to coat the floor with Coca-Cola so that they wouldn't slip. And watching it, knowing that, you're like, oh yeah, I can see that. They're jumping all around.
Yeah, but then take that image and how graceful they are when they're floating in their dance movements, knowing that the floor is sticky.
Mm-hmm.
I watched this on Amazon Prime, and Amazon Prime has that cool like pop-up video fun facts if you're watching it. So that's how I found out. But there are certain parts in that song where the actor who plays Ziedler, they replace his voice with an Italian opera singer.
Oh, sure. I
didn't know that.
They do that as well. Ziedler is also supposed to be the moon whenever the moon is singing, and they do that there as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is also really beautiful because like the moon is singing and the stars are colliding. Like that is just so incredibly wonderful. So like a Virgin really cements that the Duke is a creep. Ugh. Because
it's continue because I'm just livid with him at all times. Because what's one of the lines he says? He goes, "I don't like when other people touch my things." And seeing that again after reading all Assassin's Blade, it's just so arrogant of him. I hate it so much.
Oh, definitely. So the Duke, so Ziedler obviously knows at this point that Satine is sick at the very least. Maybe not that she's dying yet, but like she won't be there. And he comes up with this brilliant lie. Ewan says like Ziedler's brilliant lies had saved us again. And his lie is that she's at church confessing because the Duke makes her feel like a virgin. And the Duke is so like randy about that. He's like a virgin. And it's so gross.
It's so gross. And he goes, she looks, and we know that Satine is a lady of the night. She is like the best escort in all of Paris at this point. And so we know her profession. And so when Ziedler tells the Duke, she looks to this like her wedding night. Oh my gosh. Like it's just so creepy. It reminds me of people who just like sex traffickers who only look for virgins and just people who are sick. Like it's one thing if you're a virgin and you're in love or you care about the person and it's your choice and your consent, but he's just so, like you said, he's so excited about this concept. He's creepy. He's creepy. And I think that it's when Nini, the one can dancer, is like, oh, the Duke is not going to get his money's worth. It just reminds me of how women in sex work are seen as objects and not people. And that is infuriating me. And then you just see it secured with how the Duke treats Satine the whole time.
It's absolutely disgusting. And even like Ziedler, he doesn't care. He doesn't care at all. The show must go on. It's about the show. It's about the money. It's about, everything else and his dream of having a theater. And like, it just so happens that Satine's dream of being an actress like coincide with his dream, but he's not like supporting her, right? He's not giving her the tools necessarily to like make her dream come true. He's just doing what he wants.
Right, which is also why I really have, I think, watching it this time around, I have a different respect for Satine, whereas before I watched the movie as entertainment and then I was just able to dissect it a little bit more, that Satine has this dream. She is a survivor. She will do anything to pursue this dream, even though she knows she's not feeling so hot, but she's still persevering. And she says it to Christian when Christian's like, oh, a life without love is terrible. And she goes, no, a life on the street, that's terrible. She knows what it takes. And I love that never is there a point in this movie that she sees herself as a victim. She sees herself as she is a survivor. She is a warrior. She perseveres and she does what it takes to live, to keep living her life and to live a life.
Absolutely. So, come what may.
I could not believe that was supposed to be in Romeo and Juliet.
Mm-hmm. I know. Was that
fantastic. Like a new fact for you, or did you know that?
I knew that because Come What May could not be nominated for an Oscar because it was intended for use in another movie. And those are like Oscar rules. Like, so I knew that. Yeah.
Meanwhile, if it wasn't, that absolutely would have won the Oscar for Best Original Song or whatever the technical award is.
It's absolutely wonderful. And interestingly enough, the film version of Come What May is my preferred version. The version on the soundtrack does it for me, but not as much. And that's because of the haunting piano at the end. That is my favorite part. But Come What May, I sob. I sob during Come What May. It's not my ugly cry. I'm not at my ugly cry yet, but I am crying there. The line that sets me off every single time and always has is when Satine sings, "Suddenly my life doesn't seem such a waste. It's all because of you." So she, at this point, she has tried to break up with Christian and she's like, I have to sleep with the Duke on opening night and the jealousy is going to destroy you. And of course she's right because women are always right. But always right. And but Christian says like, no, I won't get jealous. I'll write a song and however bad things are, we'll sing it and hum it and whistle it and we'll know that we love each other, right? And of course, it's they use that in that capacity throughout the rest of the film. But just those words, like suddenly my life doesn't seem such a waste, sets me off. And she looks beautiful. Her hair's up. She's got that winged eyeliner. It just, it's so fantastic. And then right after this is when Christian fucks it all up.
Fucks it up. And you had said to me the other day, I always turn it off after Roxanne. And I go, you don't wait for Come What May? And I didn't realize you were talking about when the first introduction of Come What May, because we get it throughout, because that's their song. That's what they say. It's just one of those, like if you're out in public and you don't want to be super PDA-y, that's their thing to each other. And I forgot I didn't realize you were mentioning the first one because I think of it, after Roxanne when she's up in the tower and then at the end of the movie where it's the grand finale when they change where it's not supposed to be the Maharaja ending, but the original ending. Like that is such a that whole scene, the confetti coming down, the costumes, everything about this movie. It might sound like we're just broken records for this whole episode, but it is a spectacular.
It is.
And
well, and you say that you have come to respect Satine in a different way because like now we're adults and we recognize like her qualities. something that I love about her is that she sees that Christian has fucked up, right? Like, Nini's tipped off the Duke. The Duke's, like, aware of it now. And Satine, you know, turns on her actress, like, self. And she steps down from the stage.
Like a fucking boss. Queen shit. Queen shit when she was doing that. I loved it. These, you know, she goes, these writers, they just get infatuated with me. I mean, how could you not? Love it.
Yeah, and she's like, how about you and I have some supper, and then we will tell them how we prefer it to end. Like, she totally, you know, turns everything on its head and takes everything onto herself.
Woman is the neck. Woman is the neck. I love it. I love that.
And then immediately after this, we get Roxanne. And we've talked a little bit about Roxanne, but just it is everything. Like, the grand finale is the grand finale, and that is in its own category. But Roxanne is just so powerful. It's powerful. And like, you know, Ewan McGregor's voice and the dancers and the story that they're telling with the tango. And then we get the scenes of Satine's attempted rape in the tower. And it's just, it's so much. It's so much. I will go on and on, so please stop me.
I mean, not only because Roxanne is obviously, like, taken from, you know, the 80s song Roxanne, and is made into this, as we've referenced it before, integrated it into this musical so seamlessly. And it's the scene in its entirety, from the Roxanne part to Ewan McGregor's part, one of my favorite cinematic scenes in my head. And I will die on that hill. I can't think of any of the other scenes I'm comparing it to, but every time I watch that, or anytime somebody asks, like, what's one of your favorite movie scenes? This one is in the top. How can you, it's beautiful. And like you were saying, and we'll add it into the show notes, the extended cut, how do you not want to pick up ballroom dancing after this? I mean, just, it's so very technical and beautiful, and the tango is sensual, and it's telling a story. I feel like this was the first time you can look at a dance outside of ballet and feel a story being told.
It's so beautiful. If, you know, it's on YouTube, we'll post it in the show notes. The extended version will blow your mind. After this scene, after Chocolat punches out the Duke, and you know, and Satine goes to Christian in the hotel. There's another heartbreaking scene that kind of shows where Satine's head is, and like where Christian's head is. And he's like, we'll run away. And she goes, but the show. And Christian goes, I don't care about the show. We have each other. That's all that matters. And then Satine is like, you're right. Like, we're in love. We have each other, which is a complete, like, change from where she was earlier. But also, like, she knows that she's not quite right at this point. But like, not the extent of it. And she's like, you know what? Yes, I will run away with you. Like, you are the first person that doesn't care about, like, what I am or what I'm doing. Like, you love me for me. And then she goes to her dressing room and she starts packing, and I appreciate that she starts packing her jewels.
I know. I love that. I was like, yes, we love a practical woman.
Practical woman. She's like, oh, yeah, pack my jewels. And then, but Ziedler is there. And this is where I kind of start to ugly cry. Because Ziedler tells Satine that the Duke will have Christian killed if she sees him again. You know, she has to end it. And then Ziedler says, and Satine goes, but he loves me. He'll fight for me. And Ziedler goes, you're an actress. Hurt him. Make him believe that you don't love him. Hurt him to save him. And Satine is like, you know, my whole life, you only made me believe that I was worth what people would pay for me. But Christian loves me. And then
that's when he drops the bomb.
He goes, you're dying. And if you look at it, the birds in the cage are in the background of the close-up on her face where she says, "I'm dying." And it's just, yeah. And then their tears are running down her face. The light is there. Her skin is glowing. She's like, "I'm dying." And, the piano's playing in the background and the birds are in the back. It's all very symbolic. And that, I'm ugly crying there, and I ugly cry through the rest of it, obviously. But that is just so fantastic. And then we get Ziedler's song of "The Show Must Go On." And the shot of Satine, like, putting on her makeup and then putting down the net, which is also very symbolic, and then walking out through the empty theater.
That whole part is super symbolic because he's talking about carrying on the show because the show must go on. And she's clearly treating this as like a funeral. It's a time of mourning for her because she's having to get this, has to close this one chapter that has kind of, it's kind of like when you and I, when we have to get on our shit, we're just like, lock it down, keep moving. And you see that represented in how she's approaching, how buttoned up she is in her costuming. It's all portraying a message.
And earlier she says, today's a day when dreaming ends. Like she gets it. She's locked in, and just Nicole Kidman just absolutely kills it in this role. But as soon as she walks out in her outfit to go tell Christian that she's done with him and that she chooses the Duke, she does a tilt with her head and puts a little sway in her step, and you can tell she's on now. And it's just fantastic. Oh my God. Right after this is when you got set off with your crying, Jess.
Right. This is the first time, this is one of my favorite movies, and I know I'm posting a TikTok about it if I haven't already by the time this episode airs, that I sent to you, where I go, oh, this is one of my favorite movies, the soundtrack's so fun, blah, blah, blah. And I'm mocking myself because I'm sobbing. This is the first time that I watched this movie and cried. I was set off, and I knew you had been crying, and I was just like, oh, well, you know what? Maybe this is just not a movie that's gonna make me upset. And that's fine. That's fine. I cry through everything else. But the line that Toulouse says, where he's kind of just talking to Christian. Christian's wrapped up in a blanket on his bed, fucking mood. I get that. I felt that. And then Toulouse comes to him and he goes, I know about art and love, if only because I long for it with every fiber of my being. I think it triggered me so much because of the whole book world and how immersed I've been in loving love. I do love love. I could still be skeptical and I could still be practical, but just that all-consuming love that Toulouse is it's also that saying, coaches don't play. That's what it reminded me of, because I am always the person who gives advice now. And people are like, oh, how do you have such good advice? You're totally right. I should keep listening to you. Well, I've gone through some shit, and I'm open to anything organically. But to hear Toulouse say that set me off. And then, of course, the rest of the movie, now that Satine knows that she's dying, all of her choices she's actively making are knowing that she doesn't have much longer, and everything's to save Christian in a way.
Yeah,
at this point. It's all for Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And he's obviously he's upset. But she's, like you said, she's actively thinking, knowing that she's not going to be here for much longer.
And he's so awful to her, right?
And in her dying breath, her choices are revolving around him and what she wants him to do and how she wants him to fight for them and honor them.
And so Christian sells his typewriter, and he
to throw money at her. What a fucking prick.
What does he say? He says,
I've paid my whore.
I've paid my whore.
I owe you nothing.
And you are nothing to me. And then, oh my God. And they're on stage. They're on stage, right? Like, so, this starts backstage where he finds her and he's like, but why shouldn't I pay you? Why shouldn't I pay you? Tell me you don't love me. And he's like screaming this.
And she won't.
And she won't because she can't. And then Marie is like, you've got to get on this stage. And her cue comes up and then the doors open and she's on her knees and he's like above her, like holding her hands, which is exactly what Roxanne, that move is an exact dance move from Roxanne, which makes complete sense because he is consumed by his jealousy at this point. So that's a little like throwback there. Beautiful. Beautifully done.
And, tell me Sidler isn't the firstborn without telling me that he's the first. He is on his shit. He's always on. He's spinning it when he goes, oh, look, it is the penniless guitar player. We have magic. It's the same person. He just shaved.
I cannot be fooled.
And my eyes do not deceive. Like, it's just, and even with the coming up with the quick lie with the Duke earlier in the movie, this time I go, he's a firstborn. I know that shit anyway. And I think we've had that conversation before when we'll be reading things. And I go, there were so many other better lies that they could have come up with because you just gotta learn. You just, as a firstborn woman in a Hispanic family, you just learn. Okay. Whatever that be.
Oh my God. So I love this end piece. The costumes, the music, the story, just all of it, everything is so beautiful. And on film, it just jumps, right? And, the stage with the heart and the lights, just all of it. And then we have Christian throwing money at her feet, just like he said, it's all. And then he storms off through the theater and then Satine, like, rallies herself, right? Like, she during her sad Hindi opening, she stumbles for a minute, right? And she like has to catch her breath, but then she's on again and she does it. And at this point, she's having this like emotional breakdown and she knows that she's dying. So because of what has been set up in the rest of the movie, we know that when her emotions are high, she starts to have her symptoms. She rallies herself and sings a beautiful rendition of Come What May in front of everybody. Christian turns around. He starts singing it too. They have this moment on stage and then the Duke, wants to have him killed and they shoot him and, whatever. And then that whole thing happens. And then the end is the most beautiful piece of cinema, I think, ever. Satine dead. This is what it is. Satine dead in Christian's arms. The rose petals are falling down. The curtain is there. And it's a slow pan, like from them, a slow pan up. And everyone is silent. And then the guys in the rigging are silent. And then it goes out over and the crowd is standing up and screaming and cheering. And that is just, obviously I'm in a ball at this point, just like ugly crying, but it is so beautiful. And that is the image in my head when I think of this movie, because it's like the white, she's in her wedding dress and like he's in his, and like the pink and then the red and the gold and and then the Duke storms out.
Yeah, he storms out. And it just, seeing that scene with the audience, it's just a perfect example of, if anything, it could be a reflection, I don't know if it's satire, of media kind of rallying and cheering and not knowing what's truly going on behind the scenes. They're cheering for something that's being depicted and you have no idea what's really, it's just a perfect example of you have no idea what somebody is going through, and all the world's a stage. We're just mere players. And they think that all this, their story unfolded on stage right before their eyes, their true love story, the murder attempt, the dying, and they just view it as entertainment. I feel like it's just very, Banksy would appreciate that scene.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Ugh. And of course, that is very, we're recording this right after Brittany's testimony, so you could, throw it back to that too. Like we knew kind of, but we didn't really know. And that is very much reflected here in this end. And it is just so beautiful. And it closes out with Christian doing what Satine told him to do and telling their story and like writing it out. And he's kind of like finding a little peace and joy and like reflecting on their story. But oh my God. And then it ends. A story about love and a love that will live forever. The end. And then curtains, credits, done. And I remember in the theater, it was silent. It was absolutely silent. Nobody said a word because I'm sure like everyone was expecting not so much a happy ending because we knew in the beginning that Satine was dead, but the tragedy of it all, especially like because we were young, just really sticks with you. And like I remember looking at Anne-Marie and like, she's dry-eyed, I'm sobbing. And it's just like, this is the most magical thing that I have ever seen.
I can't imagine seeing it on a big screen like that. Like how beautiful that must have been.
It was. We were sitting in the the balcony of it. So we had like the first row of like the balcony.
Where's the movie theater? Is it by the mall?
That one was out like by my high school.
Oh, okay.
There was only one big theater at the time. It was out by my high school. Now there's several, but at the time there's only one. And we were on the balcony. There was nobody in front of us. Like we had a perfect view of the screen, and it was 10 o'clock in the morning, so there weren't a lot of people there anyway. But oh my God, just the vibe when you came out, you were just like exhausted and like processing everything and kind of like overstimulated. And it's the best thing that I have ever seen.
When you were saying, because I remember seeing it last night and I gave you, like, literally the credits are rolling and I'm sobbing in my video to you. I knew it was the end. I knew she died. I knew all the pieces are there. I just don't know why I didn't process it emotionally that I was going to be that upset at the end of this. But again, we've talked about life experiences and rewatching things. Technical question. If Satine had tuberculosis is contagious. Why doesn't Christian have it with all like the good times they had?
That's an excellent question.
That's me being that person who, just like when we dissect fantasy and sci-fi and you go, no, Jessica, you just watch, just read, just why are you questioning things? It made me wonder. I go, how come he doesn't have?
You could say, no, because it said like he comes from like a rich background, but he was with her for that whole time. So you would think.
Right. So then I looked into how tuberculosis is spread. Because I'm that person. And it says tuberculosis is spread from one person to the next through the air when people who have active TB in their lungs cough, spit, sneeze, or sneeze or speak.
She did all those things.
They were making out every which way, which even when they were sneaking around, I get it. I like to assume we've all been through this, like the sneak. It makes things fun. But don't act surprised when he got caught.
Yeah, for real.
You always haven't we all learned that with the sneaking around, you're going to get caught at some point? So it's just a matter of how long till you get caught.
They, and at that point, like Ziegler just like looks up in the balcony. Like they're not hiding it when he says like, I saw you together.
Right.
Like, he was just like, yeah, you were right there. Like literally just
you
looked
weren't
right
like
there.
Around. Right. You were just in this open. And then that also threw me off. And they go, I'll see you at 8. She couldn't tell Christian, you got lipstick all over your fucking face. Or when the Duke would just burst into the door and it's just smeared everywhere.
Magical. You have to suspend the belief a little bit, but it's still absolutely magical. Jess, favorite scene?
Oh, I really want to say Roxanne. I just just from the beginning of the storytelling all the way to Chocolat saving Satine, that whole 10-minute sequence is beautiful. It's beautiful. What about yours?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. I mean, the end with the curtain, as I said, is what sticks out to me. But, you know, is something that I haven't talked about that made me really love Nicole Kidman as Satine, was when she's doing her Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend in the very beginning, and she has to do the costume change with Ziedler. And, you know, he's like, you know, the Duke is here. And she's like, oh, what's his type? You know, wilting flower, smoldering temptress. Yeah. And she goes through like, smoldering temptress. You know,
He's like, definitely smoldering temptress.
but and then she's like, a real actress. It's just like the framing that they do in the shot with her hair and like her eyes and her expression and her voice. And like, now we know that she had her ribs were messed up. So she filmed that in a wheelchair. Just really beautiful. And, you know, that's not my favorite scene, but it's something that stands out that nobody talks about. And, you know, just all the love to Nicole Kidman on this.
I didn't know that this whole time I thought it was her hair. They used a wig the entire time. I mean, I know she's a natural blonde. She's
a redhead. She's a redhead.
In real life? Mm-hmm. I thought she was a natural blonde.
Right. She's a redhead. She's got curly red hair.
Okay. Because I was going to say she's one of those people who should be a natural redhead. I didn't realize. I thought it was the other way around. I thought it was like Emma Stone, where Emma Stone's a natural blonde, but she just gets casted more when she's in redhead roles. A redhead.
Yeah. In Nicole's early movies, she has her natural curly red hair.
Like in Practical Magic.
Yeah, and I think like Far and Away when she met Tom Cruise from the 80s.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of Out of Africa.
I think that's the title of it. Anyway. But yeah, she's wonderful. She's absolutely wonderful. Everything is wonderful. Watch this movie. I cannot stress enough just how beautiful it is. And if you love this movie, give some love to Strictly Ballroom. Give some love to Romeo and Juliet, because those are of the same style, and the storytelling devices are different. So in Strictly Ballroom, they use dancing. In Romeo and Juliet, they use words. And in this one, they use music. But it's all clearly Boz. And Boz just knew what he was doing with these three, and watch them now.
What's your takeaway?
My takeaway is that as an adult, you should rewatch the things that you love from your childhood to see if they stand up, because a lot of them don't, and the things that do will change your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's part of the reason we love doing this, is kind of revisiting those things and seeing if they hit harder, or you go, what was I thinking?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I find this with a lot of like 90s movies that I've rewatched. Like, some of them are complete garbage, but the ones that are good are fantastic.
I still watch She's All That. It's such a comfort movie. I mean, no way did it age well at all. But I have a comfort. I love me some Freddie Prinze Jr. That's what I should have realized, that there was a guy in our high school he was a senior and I was a freshman, and he was a Freddie Prinze Jr. lookalike, and me and my friend, we had such a crush on him, but we were the only two freshmen who were willing to talk to him. And I remember we had senior auction, which was basically you just buy a senior so you own them. And he was upset that we didn't buy him for senior auction. Your girlfriend would have kicked our ass. Like, that's why we didn't buy you. We're freshmen. What are we thinking?
That's a whole other conversation about auctioning off.
Believe me, there are problematic things of the South that I wish
lots of problematic things. You say your comfort movie is She's All That. I think mine would have to be Empire Records or Donnie Darko. So maybe these 3 movies we could also revisit sometime in the future.
We should totally do like 90s stuff. I'm sure other people, you know what it is? It's nice that we love talking to everybody and hearing people's feedback and seeing. It's nice to have so many shared interests, because sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that movie. And I still have not seen Donnie Darko or Empire Records, despite you having posters in your dorm room. I never. So there was a point in our lives, and even now, just like with people's TBRs, there's so much content out there. Where are you going to have the time?
Absolutely.
Maybe that's why the critics were so nasty with the reviews for this movie. They were just so bitter. They had so much shit to review. And by the time they got to this one, they were just over it. They go, fuck life. I just don't like this title. Just get me home.
It has an exclamation point in the title.
It's Moulin Rouge.
One of those little quirky
things. Yeah, you
things.
can't type in Moulin. I mean, you can technically, but when you type in Moulin Rouge in Google, it'll initially bring you to the actual Moulin Rouge, which, Laura, you've been to, but it doesn't. But then you have to look for Moulin Rouge exclamation when you're looking for information for this movie.
I went to the Moulin Rouge in Paris a couple of years ago, and it was absolutely fantastic. I've never had more fun in a situation like that. Drunk off champagne, watching live snakes, topless dancers, and miniature ponies, and having the time of my life.
Bucket list item.
Absolutely
the closest
fantastic.
Moulin Rouge I got right now is over in the theater district. So.
But that,
which is just as beautiful. I think I sent you pictures, and the exterior for the marquee. It's a sight to behold.
You're very lucky. Everyone's very lucky. That's it. That's all I've got.
So feel free to follow us on Instagram at ACOFAE Podcast, and follow us on TikTok, ACOFAE Laura and ACOFAE Jessica. And also, please feel free to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. I don't even know how it really works because I don't think all the streaming services, but we'd really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll have some more raffles and stuff coming soon.
And if you have movies that you would like us to review, drop them in comments. Let us know, because we would love to do that.
Please. And thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time. We appreciate everybody. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.